This has been one of the more requested videos because a lot of people want to see their Joestar be the best. I don't know why. It's not like power equates to who is written better, but this is going to be a power and strength related list. Two things to remember. First, since this is a tier list, the placement on the characters will not only circulate on power alone, but characters being able to beat other characters. Meaning that someone in B tier has a reasonably large chance of beating those in C tier. Second, if I put a character ahead of another character, then that means I see them as possibly being stronger, so that's easy to grasp. Now, I'm going to be going over characters and tell you why I put them in their tiers, but I have something to do beforehand. So, before making the power tier list, I had made this little tier list beforehand. This one is based purely off of physical strength, and I'm pretty sure that no one is going to be surprised on it, especially since Jonathan is the largest out of all of them too, and his Hamon had helped contribute to his already large amount of strength. And now that we're done with this little one, we can just get this out the way. A little thing so I can put Jonathan at S tier, make me feel good and happy about it. But let's get on to the actual one. C tier. In C tier, we're going to have both Hamon users here. Now, this doesn't mean that they're bad in general, it's just that they're falling in comparison. Hamon alone is not bad. With it, you have so many uses, specifically mind controlling and healing. It also boosts human attributes. The problem I had found is that you can only do so much with Hamon when working with techniques, and a lot of them are based on close combat, especially when they aren't close combat based. There aren't that many techniques that are instantly applicable in fights. Joseph, being the more tactical one, can work a lot with his surroundings and what his enemy is using, but say that we were to make this a pure, empty room, 1v1, no items, it would be difficult. That's what a lot of fighting in Hamon combat is, making the best of what you have in your environment. But if we were to just suppose to drop characters in an empty white room against who knows who, it'd be difficult. And forgot to mention that I also put Johnny Act 1 at the end of this. While I do hold Spin in high regards, both Jonathan and Joseph are strong enough to put Johnny down with ease, both of them 1v1ing him. It's not that difficult. Now for B tier. In B tier, we have Act 2 Johnny, and to be fully honest, I see him doing well against a lot of the stand users mentioned here. Now, when it comes to close combat though, he gets easily blitzed by almost everyone, but with range, he could do reasonably well. Act 2 is when Johnny had achieved the direction of the golden rectangle, where a black hole is made after the shot has made contact with the object or opponent. Plus, you can't do something to get rid of these shots like restoring them or moving them to a different dimension because it's a void now. And I can honestly say that I can put Act 2 Johnny against a few of those higher than him, but there's more factoring to take note of in specific fights, so I'll leave that alone for now because it's just there's range and Johnny doing something, but then a majority of these people just slap him around like it's nothing. A tier. Now for A tier, we have, in order, we have Johnny Act 3, Josuke, Giorno, and Jolene. This one was very difficult to do. Reminder that I put specific characters ahead of others due to the more likely chance that they win in scenarios, specifically for Josuke and Giorno. I believe that this is a very difficult fight to fully go about. When it comes to a close combat fight, Josuke with Crazy Diamond is enough to blitz when he's been aggravated, and even when it would just be a regular fight without bloodlust, Crazy Diamond is more likely to win. His ability of restoration also comes into play when Giorno has his life giver ability in the works. So it's possible that instead of reflecting damage, he just brings what it was ever brought to life back to normal. If not, Josuke is ahead of Giorno, then I put them as equal, since this is probably the most 50-50 matchup you could see here. Johnny is put ahead of all of them with how strong the spatial wormhole is. Plus, none of them have anything that they could do against the attack aside from dodging and directly attacking Johnny. You can't restore the shot, you can't cancel it by turning it into something else, and you can't string it in any way to stop it. Though, I will say that there is a lot of good in Stone Free specifically. Being able to stitch yourself up is one thing, but turning your body into Mobius strips and bullet catching strings is just, it's amazing by itself. I see Johnny and Giorno being one of the more tactical fighters here, but once you put these guys in an empty field for fights, they really have to focus purely on what they have. Sometimes it's enough though, due to Johnny's main weapon being his hands, and Giorno can use what's on his clothes, like for the ladybug, just take that into account. He uses that before, and I guess there's not much he could do with that. I guess just the ladybugs on its own, but there's that. Now we're in the S tier. Now, originally I was going for the whole whose power would be ahead of who here. I found out that it makes more sense on levels of how fatal it is. In order, it's Johnny Act 4, Jotaro with Star Platinum the World, but he's coming right off of the Dio fight since that's his prime, and I've went over that in the outside of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on Jotaro recently. And to finish it all off, Gappy. If Star Platinum didn't have time stop, I'd want to put Gappy ahead of him because the plunder and how much it can steal is ridiculous. The problem is that Star Platinum is way too strong to be put behind Gappy, so his spot is solidified. The problem I personally have is that I think I'd actually put Johnny in double S tier since he's definitely ahead of both Jotaro and Gappy by a good amount. You know what? Yeah, no, actually, yeah, I'm gonna put Act 4 in there instead of here in S. He's double S. He's dimension breaking, infinite rotation, A's in power, durability, and range. I'm pretty sure he's a phenomenal stand at that point. And plus, he's dealt with time stop before, so there's that. I almost forgot about this. So a friend asked me who would have the strongest aura, and it's kind of interesting in my opinion because one problem is that I don't think I can include Joseph in this since he's actually the one Joestar that doesn't do that at all. So I think that it's kind of obvious that if I started with S tier here, and we have Prime Star Platinum and Crazy Diamond. I'd seen Crazy Diamond as the faster stand, but that's only because Jotaro wasn't at his prime self. I'm sure that Star Platinum in Part 3 could easily take Crazy Diamond. And for A tier, I have Tusk Act 4, Jonathan Joestar, and Stone Free. I'm pretty close at putting Jonathan ahead of Tusk due to him being human and almost as strong as a stand. Plus his aura can launch as far as Crazy Diamond, and he's doing that to a building level zombie, but for the sake of making it easier, I'm just going to keep him behind Tusk. Stone Free, still coming very strong, pushing right through ahead of those, ahead of those in B. The ones in B tier are Gold Experience and Soft and Wet. Their punches are as strong as a human can get around that time, but they aren't at the level that Jonathan is because he is enhanced, brawlic, and huge, and no matter what, I understand Phantom Blood just basing it off of other things like Kenshiro and all that. I just think it's actually hilarious. Like, he's so huge for no reason. It's insane. But yeah, so Soft and Wet, Gold Experience, not the same level, though they can be pretty effective even when not being that strong because the focus on their abilities and to just have their auras as finishers, that's mostly the deal which you get with a lot of these stands. And well, yeah, if we're being real, the aura is a finishing move for most of the Joestars except for, well, Star Platinum because that's his whole gimmick. Now, it looks like we should be done with all those tiers and also the power one in general, like the strongest one of that, but that's until you bring out Mr. X tier himself, hair flowing, stand glowing, Gold Experience Requiem for all of you. What does he do? He does this. This has been one of the more requested videos because a lot of people want to see their Joestar be the best. You know why we're back here? The rest of the video, that didn't happen. I mean, what rest of the video? Hello, nice to meet you. This is Caleb. Welcome to the introduction. But just resetting back to 0. The stand had universal range. The stand gives you infinite deaths. How is that even possible? It just goes past so many things. It goes past time itself. It's above time. It's a ridiculous ability. Araki made it as vague as possible to know how strong he is, and they're just the full extents and limitations of this ability, of Gold Experience Requiem's ability is just unknown. And the only thing that we were able to see to beat Gold Experience Requiem was Dio over Heaven, and that guy rewrites reality itself. It's a ridiculous feat. I can't deal with it. But that's gonna be it for now. I love winking Jonathan and Giorno, Gold Experience Requiem, all that. I'm pretty sure you guys can easily tell from that. But that's gonna be it for now. One last thing. You know what? I was holding off on it because I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to go about it. But I'm going to be opening a Discord for the fans. This is going to be a community Discord. Some people are there to bomb it or whatever. It's kind of odd, I guess. We have moderators there. We have bots and yada yada to clean up the acts or whatever the shit. Anyone that wants to come through, There, you guys can talk to me there. I'm gonna be open to talking and all that types of stuff, and there it is. It's free to join. It's there. It is. It's just a community one. I'm not doing anything else special for it because I've always wanted to open one, and I said I was gonna originally open one when I was at 10K, and I'm like around 15K late. So there you go with that. I love you guys so much though. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully join the Discord. I like to see you guys there. It'd be great to see you. Until the next one, Gold Experience Requiem is sick. I'm sorry. Okay. Until the next one, guys. I love you guys all. Peace out and Godspeed.